On this episode of Doin the Most, we are going to taste through some meads and some honey.
Homemade brews and various how-tos, everything from mead to roast, bake creation, fermentation, inebriation, doing the most.
Have you ever had buckwheat honey?
I have not had buckwheat honey through all of our adventures through multiple honey tastings. I've never had buckwheat. It looks pretty dark.
It's very dark. We went to a homebrew meetup in, was it Norman, Oklahoma, home of the Sooners. And there was a mead maker at this homebrew meetup that had made a mead with only buckwheat honey. And he described it as tasting like a horse's ass.
It doesn't smell great.
I'm going to give you a taste of this. We've got a recipe we're working on right now that will eventually go on the channel. And it is made with a portion of buckwheat honey, but not totally buckwheat honey. Real earthy. It's got kind of like a molasses twang to it.
I mean, the color is basically molasses, and it does have that kind of, it's almost like a burnt flavor to it.
It is grassy. Kind of it is barnyard. I would give it a barnyard description.
No, it's not. It's not like that. I mean, I would eat that on some toast. Like, it tastes good.
Yeah. No, that's what I hear is a lot of folks put it on pancakes.
That would make sense.
Like they'll make buckwheat pancakes and use buckwheat honey. Smart.
Huh.
So we're going to start with the cranberry braggot. This was a recipe that you initiated.
Yeah.
If you remember correctly.
I do. Trying to come up with some seasonal ideas.
Working around the microphone apparatus here. So cranberry braggot, this was the most recent video as of the recording of this that is on our YouTube channel, and we had some issues with the cranberry braggot.
Yep.
I texted him one night about halfway through fermentation, or I guess it was like right after I had racked it the first time, and I'm like, this tastes like puke, and there was a lot of discussion on what we could do to salvage it, and eventually I added xylitol as a sweetener just to bring up a little balance for the cranberries, and extra lactose and maltodextrin to thicken it up and creamify it a little bit. Hopefully going to be ready for Thanksgiving, which is, as of recording this, about 2 months away. After fermentation, it mellowed out a lot.
It kind of tastes like a sour, honestly.
Yes, it's got once you really kind of lay into the exhale, you can taste the cranberry.
Yeah,
it's got a little bit of a cranberry sauce kind of thing going on, and all the acid in this comes from the cranberry puree that we used, which was only, I think, a 3-pound can.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot.
So not much. Gave it a great color. It's got a nice amber red.
I mean, honestly, I would drink this now. I mean, I can see how it's going to improve a little bit, but
it's just going to marry a little bit in the bottle. And I think by the time it gets a little cold outside and you've got a little bit of leftover turkey and hot rolls, you can make yourself a little bit of like a leftovers turkey sandwich.
You put dressing on that sandwich?
See, I don't.
It's good.
No, gravy, if there's leftover gravy, I'll slather that on there like a condiment, but...
Oh, okay.
Or mayo. Whatever. It's a little bit one note with the cranberry and just that little bit of back sweetness.
You can get I'm still getting a little honey though. On the front.
Yeah,
honey's on the front. The kind of the sourness is in the middle, and then your exhale is where you get the cranberry. I'd probably give it about a 6 now, but I think that there's potential for it to be like a 7.5. Like I like it.
So this video went out a few months ago. This is this on the channel is listed as how to brew your first mead.
Okay.
So this is the introductory recipe for a hibiscus and berry mead. This has 15 pounds of honey across the 5-gallon batch. It is slightly back sweetened with honey too. There was just a few pounds of berries and I want to say 10 or 12 ounces of hibiscus that was made into a tea and added prior to fermentation. So basically it's a berry hibiscus mead. The way we constructed this recipe was to give people who are just like first time home brewing, first time foray into mead, making something that's nice and balanced, fairly simple, and can be made with ingredients that you can pick up at Walmart. Like, I wanted it to be as baseline simple as possible for the introductory brewer.
It's fairly simple, the process.
Yeah,
It's unlike some of our other things that we've
very straightforward.
kind of thrown together or tested.
Correct.
And this is going to be on an entirely different scale compared to what we just drank. So,
Yeah.
all right, let's try this.
It is young yet. It
Yeah.
is about 6 months old, I think, about at this point. So
Still drinkable though.
it's very drinkable. It really needs about another 6 months of age. Not bad.
No.
I really like this recipe.
This is going to taste real good in 6 months.
And you know, if I had added maybe another pound of honey and sweetening this, most people would just down this as is.
Oh, it tastes like mead.
It would be more mead-like. This is lightly sweetened because I prefer like a semi-sweet to off-dry.
It's ironic that we like to make mead because we like drinking things that are not
Not mead.
necessarily
Yeah.
sweet. The closest thing that I can compare this to is probably a blended red, like a light blend. I mean, not like a rosé or anything like that, but something with Pinot in it and some Cab maybe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those lighter. Not a Malbec. It's not dark enough to be a Malbec or a Zen in my opinion, but
And that hibiscus, I think, will probably take the lead a little bit here in about 6 months. I mean, it kind of does now, but I think then you're gonna have more of that like tannic floral kind of thing going on. And
there's a lot of floral on your exhale.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, it's basically a young wine. I mean, that's what it tastes like. It's just got that hibiscus in it, which is a little different, but
Yeah.
it's kind of cool. It's kind of good.
Yeah, you know, dry meads and drier meads are starting to become more chic right now. And so I can see a world in 1, 2, 3 years from now where these are the more dominant meads that you're finding at a retail location versus the like just cloyingly sweet stuff that you find now.
Honestly, I think it'd be interesting to decant this at some point and let it sit for an hour. You
We
know,
should do that right now.
which might mellow it just a touch. Let's try to decant this in a milk jug. What is this, a milk jug or an orange juice?
I'm not really sure.
It's a liter.
This is a thrift store find.
That's cool.
I like it. I like it as
No,
I mean, I would serve this with like
Well, see,
like a
that's the
white
thing.
sauce pasta kind of situation, or like a butter sauce pasta.
See, I'm thinking more heavy. Like, I would like this with a burger.
Really?
Yeah,
Or like a
like,
tuna steak.
I'm getting which I'm a way bigger fan of reds than I am whites, and that maybe I'm like being a little off in my judgment just based on the fact that this reminds me of
Yeah.
like a red, and it's not the color, it's the profile. But
You know, the tannin is so interesting in it because it's not like there's any oak or
Right.
grape stems or anything that were in this. The tannin is purely from the hibiscus tea.
it worked.
This is something that a lot of people have been looking forward to a tasting video of. I guess I should cross-post this video to Reddit.
I'm not sure that I'm ready for this experimental brew.
So this was what we called on the internet the magically delicious Meadowfoam Stout. It was a stout kit repurposed with Meadowfoam Honey, so removing the light liquid malt extract in the stout kit and subbing in raw Meadowfoam Honey. And then in secondary, it was racked onto an entire box of Lucky Charms marshmallows, which disintegrated within 24 hours and dropped to the bottom, turning the sludge at the bottom kind of a Technicolor blue. I've tasted this a few times throughout the process, and then I tasted a bottle last night because I was checking for carbonation, so I know what this tastes like. So for this portion,
I do not.
we're going to throw to you to give us your untainted perspective on what you believe this the success of this to be.
I'm a little scared, to be honest.
It's got a good head,
It does,
nice set of bubbles on
and
it.
it's about the right color for my preferences. So.
Yeah, it's got that kind
Oh,
of
it smells like feet.
porter look to it. So to contextualize this is the type of thing that needs 6 or 8 months of aging before you should really drink it. Any stout kit, you should be aging for like 6 months to a year. and this is only a few months old. So I want to like preface this by saying that this is by no means ready yet.
What is that?
It's magically delicious.
So there is a flavor profile in here that is not great. Everything else about this is nice. The consistency is awesome, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know how to tell what that is. It's kind of, it doesn't taste like feet. But whatever that smell is, which I'm going to say it's not feet, but whatever that smell is what I'm tasting, and I can't.
So I want you to do it like a traditional wine tasting where you take a sip, swish it around in your mouth, let it run over the back of your tongue.
All right.
And then a pretty broad exhale.
Kind of tastes like charcoal. It tastes like.
It a little bit tastes like cigarette butts.
Oh, yeah.
It's got that kind of
That's what it
ashtray
is.
kind of. Like when you go into like a really old like country buffet where they still have a smoking section, and whenever you sit in the booth, the air from the cushions kind of surround you. This tastes like that air.
That's all that I taste now, thank you. But that's exactly what I'm getting now.
But like when you walk past like one of those outdoor ashtrays after it's rained.
It's like an old bowling alley. This tastes like an old bowling alley. That's what this tastes like. Like a 30-year-old, really hot in the 80s bowling alley. Other than that kind of cigarette thing in my head, like, it's unique. And it kind of sucks because the body on this is great. Like, it's very drinkable, but I'm not gonna. Well, it's drinkable in the feel sense, not the
everything but
sense.
flavor. So I'm gonna say we put this batch back and maybe reassess in June. So the last thing we have to taste here is from the most popular video on my channel right now, which is titled something like "Guy Makes Blueberry Mellow Mead with 20 pounds of blueberries." And this is the first Doin the Most video that went out, and it was a fairly overly ambitious process where I did a cold maceration on 20 pounds of blueberries to reduce this like massive amount of blueberries to basically just the skins, and then fermented that with step additions of honey. No nutrient was in it, and I also did a simultaneous fermentation with red wine yeast and a malolactic fermentation culture, which converts the malic acids into the softer lactic acids, which is the process that like Malbecs traditionally go through.
Right.
So there was a lot going on with this mead, and in the video I said I'd put it back for a year or two and see what happens. And so it's been a year now, and I was a little concerned with the amount of headspace that was on top of it as it sat down in the basement, so I went ahead and stabilized it and back sweetened it and bottled it. And now it's sitting in bottles probably for another year or so, but had a little bit left over, so I felt like this would be a great time to do a testing about halfway through the aging process. So that's what we have here. It has so much color. So the blueberries were left on the skins for a while, and then I used a red wine yeast that is a particular yeast strain cultivated for color extraction from fruit skins. It's gonna need to breathe for a little bit. I back sweetened it with orange blossom honey.
Okay.
So I wanted to use a honey that innately would complement the citrusy, fruity flavors of the blueberries rather than just like a wildflower or something like that. This is by far the most expensive thing I've ever brewed.
Blueberries aren't cheap.
And the malolactic fermentation culture, buying a cold packed bacterial culture through the internet, also more expensive than it probably needs to be.
So in other words, this is not for the faint of heart.
No, this
not for someone who's just getting
I
started.
mean, when you're on a channel called Doin the Most, this is like by definition, I did everything that could be done to this to make it what it is.
It's very drinkable.
Mm-hmm.
In a year, this is going to be pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that when I first backswinged it, I couldn't really taste the honey, but I taste it now.
Yeah, it's definitely there. That's good.
And I wanted this to have more honey profile than most of the stuff that I make, because I knew that this is going to be the introduction to mead for a lot of people we know. So I wanted them to at least be able to know, oh yeah, there's honey in there. I can taste the honey in there, even though I prefer a drier product. Using the best products creates the best final product. And so,
I mean, you take out the sweetness in this, and I'm not a wine expert by any means, but this kind of reminds me of a Rombauer cab, or maybe the Titus cab.
yeah,
I mean, you gotta take away that sweetness a little bit, but I mean,
there is a cab thing going on with it.
Yeah.
It's interesting because there were some raisins in there to help build up the body, but this is almost entirely from blueberries and honey. And so to be able to pull out those grape wine kind of...
It's pretty incredible, actually.
Uh-huh.
It's there.
I don't know, you can taste the blueberry too. That's what I like about it. It's not
you
like...
can, but like if you think about, like if you looked at this, you're like, I'm drinking wine. Then the blueberry goes away and I start tasting wine. I start tasting grape notes.
Yeah. But the orange blossom honey, I think, accentuates the blueberry just enough that you can pick it up on the front.
Oh, if you think blueberry, then you can taste blueberry. If you think grape, you can taste grape. It's kind of interesting. Oh, that's pretty crazy good. And that is unlike any mead ever that I've tasted. I mean, that's...
Yeah.
It's not...
We've done a lot of mead tasting over the last year.
I mean, a lot of things we do, like the entire point, like we're really fans of beer. So like we develop mead products that are more akin to beer. And this is, I mean, we both like wine quite a bit. So
Yeah, I love a
kind of a
great
natural
red
progression,
wine.
maybe. But this tastes like wine. I mean, it doesn't taste like mead, which...
Right.
You know,
Right.
It depends on like what your opinion of that is, but that's kind of I think what we're going for, is because there's a lot of commercial meads out there that we don't like.
Yeah. If anyone knows a good supplier of number 9 corks that won't funk up on you and shred as you pull them out of a bottle that was only bottled 3 months ago, leave a comment.
Trying to warm it up a little bit more.
Yeah, pop it in the microwave. I feel like we should...
It does smell a little
Have
different than it
mittens on
did,
or something.
actually, to be fair.
I'm trying to like readjust my
That's very
nose palate for
up front.
a tart, unoaked thing. All right.
I'm not getting as much acid as I did when it was cold.
Yeah, the hibiscus is less prominent also. I'll say that.
It's still good. I mean,
it hasn't changed like markedly. But
no, but I think as it warms up, I think you're going to get less hibiscus and more blueberry.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're gonna go taste some
Stuff that's not ready.
unfinished Kvik session meads, and I think it's October 1st. My eggnog that has been sitting in the back of the fridge for nearly a year will be ready for tasting. Yeah, the tester's right here. Circa 10/1/18. So we're about a year in the bottle here. And so if you'd like to come over and taste 1-year-old eggnog.
You put enough alcohol in anything, and it's not bad.
Well, thanks for watching. As always, you can find us at dointhemost.org or Instagram and Pinterest at dointhemostok. That information will be down here. Have you tried any of these recipes, or do you have recipes that you think we should brew? Let us know in the comments below. We love hearing from y'all. Until next time.